Nice.
I was trying to figure out what's the best way to show Michelle how excited I am
That was pretty
on the
good.
show. Dance. And DJ Laz, I don't know, special place in my heart. Okay. Hey guys, I'm not going to start every show by dancing, but this is the way we started this one because I'm really excited today. Today on Coffee with Enlace, we have Michelle Bueno and Dr. Bueno. We are going to talk about so much and have such a good time. But I want you guys to introduce yourselves first for the folks that may be watching this show for the first time.
I'm Michelle Negron Bueno, and I'm part of Enlace team. I do the communications along with other people, Dave and Mark, and then work with the staff in El Salvador. Been with them since the beginning.
Yeah, exactly right. And we have Dr. Bueno.
Well, just what she didn't say is that anything written, web, post, anything that you ever see goes through Michelle's desk. So really, it's a huge job, and she does it amazingly well. She's a writer, so it's great for her to be able to use her skills that way. But for Enlace, it's a huge gift to have a storyteller on our team.
That's right.
Really, so she does more than just work with it. I mean, she did say what she did.
She's co-founder too. There's no way you co-founded and she didn't. Like this is a team effort.
And that was the other part I was going to say. The Bueno on the back kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
We've been married for 25 years. In fact, this year it's 25 years. We're celebrating our anniversary in December.
Congrats.
We have a big plan. We'll see if it works now with this whole emergency thing.
Okay.
But Michelle and I got married, went down to El Salvador in 95 and had all three of our kids down there. Okay. So all three are Salvadoran Americans and now been kind of flip-flopping back and forth. So right from the beginning, we've been a team that was put together by grace and love and everything else. We didn't think we were going to be doing Enlace. We didn't think we would be there in El Salvador for 25 years. Michelle never living in El Salvador, although she loved it quickly and loved what Enlace was doing and quickly became the communications director and kind of has been that role for most of the time. So it's great to be with Michelle today.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And it is a huge blessing to have you on the show, Michelle. We've been able to talk to Ron. I've had so many awesome interactions with Ron in the very short amount of time. It's only been about 5 weeks since I've known you, Ron. But you've been a really big blessing in my life. And the first time, if I can simulate the way that we met for the first time, Michelle and I, actually, this is going to be it. Hey, Joel, you should get the Enlace tattoo. Literally, that's the first time I ever met Michelle Bueno. Was off camera. I was talking to Ron, and I hear someone from the outside say, you should get the Enlace tattoo. And she didn't even know the story between the fact that I tattoo something of a memory between, after every service trip. I don't do souvenirs. I do like things that are kind of like how I was impacted on that trip. And so I thought it was hilarious. And first of all, I was like, yes, before I even met you. Can't wait to do it. Tattoo shops got to open back up. But I thought that was a really awesome way. And you know what? It kind of speaks to like that behind the scenes advocate that you are for Enlace. And I've had the pleasure of reading a lot of your work and it's just been incredible. And then, even working with you in the last 5 weeks, it's been, hey, here's some things that we can do to make this Coffee with Enlace show better. And then you just nail it with the graphics, with the artwork, with the, the ways. And so appreciated. And that was one of the reasons why, I wanted to kind of coax you out into the show because I have a friend at church. So my name is Joel Barnes. Guys, you're tuned into Coffee with Enlace. I don't know if you knew that because there was a dance party at first, but you're tuned into Coffee with Enlace. Exactly right. Yes. And so what we do here at the show, we just take some time. We have some coffee every Tuesday, Thursday, and we talk about all things Enlace related. Right now, obviously with COVID-19 sweeping the world, there have been a lot of pivots, a lot of shifts that have had to happen. And in this time, I think this show, even in its nature, is a result of having to pivot, communicate in a different way, update in a different way. And I'm so proud of you two in particular. And I just want to say thank you. The first thing that I have in my notes to do is thank you in big letters. And I know that there's probably, I'm a volunteer, right? Like that helps because you can't fire me when I'm like, hey, Michelle. And I know that's probably annoying, but I get to do that because you can't fire me. That's the beauty of it. But then I also know that at some point you're probably like, who is this guy? Why is he relentless with some of these things? But anyways, I just do want to just say thank you for the opportunity, because this has blessed me as much as anything that I think that I've contributed. And that's true. I've had the pleasure of talking to other people who love Jesus and want to do good in the world often. And the common thread has been Enlace. And I've been able to talk to other people that have been transformed by this ministry. I believe in this ministry. I was called into ministry through your ministry. I mean, officially, like it was kind of like I was like hinting at it. And then one day on a mission trip, at the end of a mission trip, with Franco recording me crying, it was very clear that God was saying it was time for me to move into ministry. And I have been in ministry since that moment. And that's the truth. And so that was something that you guys have provided high level, but then just more immediately to this particular time, you listened to a guy that you didn't even know, you listen to the advice. And I just think that is so amazingly intuitive, humble, beautiful, serving like Jesus would serve, because you don't have to listen to me. You've never had to listen to anything I ever said. And I'm a stranger. I was a stranger. I feel more like family now than I ever have. But I was a stranger, just kind of winging it. Like, hey, here's an idea. Here's another idea. Here's another idea. Here's another annoying idea. And remember that first idea? Here's that thing again. So, but you listen to it, and I appreciate it because I feel like you guys have given me like a sweet spot to live in. And it's been very special to me. And so I just want to make sure that I said thank you and try to convey that. What you guys do is amazing. What Enlace does is amazing. Michelle, I want to start with you, and I want to talk to you about some of your experience in El Salvador, raising kids and starting this thing, and like, tell me about that.
Well, it's been a life for sure.
Yeah.
Extraordinary in a lot of ways, but you know how it is. Extraordinary just comes down to moment by moment, pretty mundane moments that build on each other.
Yeah.
So for me, moving down to a country I've never had lived in before, I did speak Spanish, and my parents were missionaries in Spain, and of course we have Puerto Rican background in my family. So that at least that aspect of the language wasn't as daunting as it would be for some.
Sure.
Culturally, it was a very different experience to be in a Central American country, European country where I spent a lot of my time.
Yeah.
A shout out to anybody watching this from ECA in Madrid, where I went to school.
Yeah.
So,
Black Forest Academy.
And then Black Forest Academy, but mainly at Evangelical Christian Academy in Madrid. So hello with my fellow students there. But so, but living in Central America was a whole different kind of context. And so, and then of course becoming, we were married not even 6 months before we moved to El Salvador. And about a year and a half later had our first child. And then within 15 months had 2 more.
Oh, wow.
Twins. So we had 3 kids within Insta family, as we like to call it, within 15 months. And so life came fast on that side of things. And then, just navigating life there was a whole another experience. But I have to say, for every step of the way, just being loved by so many people in El Salvador, just supported and loved and tended to the Salvadorans who I met, and from other people from other countries that live there, were always just amazing. And so it was as good experience as you can have.
Yeah.
raising children in a different place. So
Yeah.
now they're all guanacos, which is, you know, the slang for, you know, kids coming from, you know, El Salvador, and they love being there, and it feels like home to them. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. I think it's felt like home to so many people so fast. You guys have kind of created that very structured but loose, like spirit-led space for people to come down and really feel like family fast. And one of the things that I think that you guys have done really well in that space has been to the trip coordinators, like the Karens, the Francos, putting someone in place and snapping someone into that gap between, you know, the gringos and Americans coming down to El Salvador, and maybe the way that we think and some of the ways that we kind of engage, which is not bad, but there's just cultural sensitivities. There's, you know, just different ways of doing it that show more love and compassion. And you guys have done such a good job with facilitating that and training people to come down there and do that in that time. You know, one thing that, you know, I have to like kind of personally check in on is it has been a particularly hard week for me. And I know, you know, it's been a tough week. And one thing that I thought about was, as I have tough weeks, just COVID-19 going on, I walked a friend away from the ledge who was very close to the edge. I had a friend's mother die because of COVID-19, and then his brother died because of COVID-19. And you know what it made me think about? And more than being overwhelmed, more than being kind of sucked into it, what it made me do, and I think that this is just because I'm a little bit older at this point, I know when I'm in over my head, was it made me think about people like you guys, to be honest. It made me think about people like you guys who leaders and care for caretakers. And so I wanted to talk about that today on the show. The two things that I want to talk about was, and this is like really out of a personal, part of this is a personal need, but I really feel like this is something that so many people are going through right now in the world, where they have to take care of so many people. I'm the head of my family, co-parent. So, you know, and then, you know, I'm involved I support ministry at my church full time. And, you know, and so I do all these different things and all these different people need me. But I just kind of want to ask you guys, like, how do you guys lead leaders and care for caretakers? That's a real question that I have for you guys. And I want you guys to kind of help me through it. And either of you can kind of take a stab at that.
Go first.
Well, I think, first of all, Joel, I'm so sorry. These are incredible difficulties, and so
yeah.
Heart goes out to you, and as you're struggling through this, and your friends and people that you know, and like you said, it's people are just being torn in so many different directions right now because of this, and being kind of if things weren't also easy before, now things are even more so in that direction. So,
amen.
First of all, though, we also are very thankful that you're helping us with and volunteering with Enlace. You know, basically, both Ron and I know, you know, Art isn't us. It's been a series of people like you, like us, you know, down through the years, throwing their hat in the ring and saying, okay, here I am, and I'll try.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cool legacy. It's a good group, you know, in that sense, just people who are willing to help and helpers, you know, kind of thing. So we appreciate that. And I guess the thing, you know, this isn't our first rodeo. That's for darn sure when it comes to natural disasters like earthquakes. I was even reflecting today on, we've been through pandemics, even in, not pandemics, but we've been through epidemics in El Salvador with dengue and with H1N1. Yeah. In our recent history, some of the things that my kids actually did get, and I did too. So, we were quarantined. So and a funny thing, I had forgotten that until I was thinking through that today. I'm like, wait, we've done this somewhat, you know, it's just different when it's on such a global scale, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the things is to, if you're struggling, to anybody there out today, right now, through different things, maybe walking with people or walking through something yourself, I think the first thing, being willing to ask for help when you need it. Reaching out to people, it can be kind of daunting and vulnerable, but it's really important to find support. And I think and also when people offer support, and it might not feel like enough, or it might feel like just dropping the bucket. These are if you can take things moment by moment and day by day, these are the moments that will get you through. And that's, this too shall pass. I know that can be thrown around as such a dumb phrase, but if it's helpful to you to think through that, and you can hold on to something and you can take it by day, we will be on the other side of this at some point.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I would, learning from El Salvador and having people help us, having us and also helping others. It's being in that place of a constant, if you have it in you, I think, so the other side of that, if you have it within yourself, and if you're able, and you're not the one going through it, then offer.
Oh, yeah.
In any way you can. And sometimes we can be both people. Sometimes we can be struggling in different ways, but then we can offer help in other ways. And so I think finding the place in that, and I think above and beyond actually that is realizing that a life spent, and kind of going back to your idea, how do you lead an organization that is a helping organization constantly for 25 years or whatever, and all that, and not get burned out, because that's it. It's not just a pandemic that's 6 months or whatever it might be, but you living with this day in and day out, it teaches you a lot about what a person can actually take, and then when you have to basically retreat. But I remember back when we had a dengue epidemic in El Salvador, and it can happen at different points. So it's not just one, but this particular time Enlace was helping just getting some mosquito netting to a hospital, to a local hospital. And then because I was part of that, because dengue is it's yellow fever and it's spread by mosquitoes. So just a thing like having mosquito nets can be a huge help. But anyway, so I met a doctor there who gave me a tour of Hospital Bloom is the name of it. And she walked around with the biggest smile on her face. In the middle of, to me, was just suffering. And I remember, so when you talked about, think of people in your life that have gone through this and seem to shine something, and she's a person that I will always think back on in my experience. And I was very young at the time. I was like 27 years old, or maybe a little bit older. And she just was able to serve in this situation that was so dire, and it was a children's ward too. On top of it, you're just walking around, and they can't have their parents there at most of the times. And I remember just kids kind of holding their arms out to me. So it was horrible in that way, and yet we're here to serve, and so you had to be in it. But she was able to walk around with the biggest smile on her face for that half an hour that she spent with me. And I just remember thinking, reflecting on that later, how is this person able to function like this? But the reality is, she couldn't function unless it was like this for her. For anybody knows that you have to serve from joy. And I think you have to find the way. What is it? The passion for the love for people, that can be part of it. That has to be a part of it. But I think the other part is she's serving from her strength. She was serving in a way that was very unique, and her ability. She had invested in her life to become a doctor, and she was serving out of that. So I think she would just, to me, is that. So I just keep thinking, for people who are just struggling in all the different ways and are able to offer something now, do it, offer help in some way or another, but also you're not a means to an end. So yourself as a cog in some sort of thing that's going on. You are unique, and you offer gifts that are beautiful, and now's the time to let them shine. And then let them shine again. and then let it again. But the way you can keep doing that, I think, over and over, is by going back to that well of serving from joy and passion and love. And so that would be my long answer to your question.
Yeah, I love it. You guys see why I wanted her on the show? Everybody see now? Anyway, it's so good. Wow. She's out talk Brian Bueno so far in the show. I didn't know if that was going to happen. I'm not going to. Oh, my goodness. What a power team. Ron, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, thinking about it from an organizational standpoint, I love what you said, very specifically about how to walk it out with someone or how to find yourself, kind of how to help yourself navigate through that situation. And I want to go back to something she said earlier, and that is how we've always understood kind of our call and our team. We both believe that, we didn't ask to be part of Enlace. We didn't want to, it wasn't something that we deliberately kind of sought out. And obviously there's a long story behind that, but we've always felt really that God put us there and kind of called us into this. And in the same way, God is calling all of our staff into their own call with God, but it's through Enlace. So it's not like us as leaders trying to get the most out of our team or trying to bring people on. Obviously they have functions and they have things to do that we're bringing them in to do. But really it's this concept of this idea that, hey, we've all been called into ministry together, and it just happens to be Enlace.
Yeah.
And I think because of that perspective, it's really allowed us to build genuine relationships with our staff and our friends. They're our friends. It's weird to even call them staff. And really kind of create the kind of dialogue and honesty and transparency that you need to, because we're all in this call together, so to speak. I know that maybe sounds a little weird, but
it doesn't. Because
of that, it allows you to do 2 or 3 things very specifically to answer your question.
Yep.
When this crisis hit then, our first concern then was, how's everyone doing? How are our friends doing? How can we protect you? How can we protect each other? How can we care for each other? And then as it kind of went on, we realized that we need to keep building on those relationships. Our staff is very close. They're used to hanging out all the time together in the cars and, at the office. They spend large amounts of time together. This is their second family. Yeah. So we knew that as leaders, we needed to keep that level of connection between the team. They need to feel part of what we were, part of this bigger call. And we started by doing, so, I think a lot of leaders are falling into things. We fell into a lot of things. We started a, WhatsApp group the first day. Hey, let's just kind of keep in contact. By the second day, we realized everybody was, texting. Even people that aren't normally on those WhatsApp groups were on it texting. Then 2 days later, we're like, hey, well, let's do a prayer group through text. So, 9 o'clock in the morning, well, it's 8:15 there. We started texting for 15 minutes. Then we moved to, Zoom, and now we're all praying every morning at 8:15. And it's been amazing to see how that's kept people connected and really connected to each other in a deep way. I think the very first thing for us has been to make sure that as the staff, we all feel like we're still in this together. We're still friends. We're still caring for one another. We're still intimately involved in each other's lives as we do ministry. And so keeping that connection has been critical, finding ways to stay engaged. But then there was a second part of this. And then how do we keep everybody feeling significant? How do we feel like everybody can work and can stay engaged? So first of all, it was kind of keeping everybody connected. We're still on the same page. But the second thing was, how do we now navigate this new normal together so that we all feel like we're in this boat together, that we're all on this call together? And I think that's been really challenging. For most Salvadorans and Guatemalans and even Nepali, they're not used to teleworking or telecommuting. So this idea of being apart from one another for long periods of time and connecting through Skype or Zoom or whatever format you're using, Google Meet, whatever, it's been really hard. And I can start to see some of our staff were slipping. They would go 3 or 4 days without seeing them on the prayer list or several days, and we'd reach out to them personally and trying to keep them engaged. So we've actually changed. We're really working on the culture of our organization right now. It's been about 5 weeks, now 4 weeks. We started, if we were meeting every 2 weeks, we meet once a week now with the team. So more frequent meetings, more check-in time, leaving more time to just talk about who we are and processing, thinking out loud meetings, of anything to create that sense of connection, but also a way of significance. We've also done very specific stuff. we reorganized our whole team to be able to respond to the crisis. So even if you're admin, even if you're IT, whatever it is, the whole team now is on the same plan moving forward. And we've actually created new work groups. So we split everybody up into new work groups. Each work group has got one region of the country, and they're all doing the same thing, helping churches connect with their communities, helping church communities identify families of most vulnerable need, and everyone is now helping them create community plans. So what we've done is we really tried to get everyone on the staff to feel like, hey, we're still in Enlace, we're still the same call, we're together in this, we're all going to contribute to this, and we're all going to move forward. So it's like I said, it's been a series of bumbles and kind of tripping ourselves to figure this out. But I think the core thing is kind of connected and engaged. And engaged throughout this process. I know my answer is a lot more institutional or technical than Michelle, but I think it's the same spirit of really caring for one another and realizing, hey, I'm not a boss, you're not an employee. We're literally a team. Yeah. And how can we work with each other through this process has been kind of the underlying goal.
Yeah, no, I think that is incredible. And what I love about you two and the dynamic that I wanted to that I felt first minute, you know, from literally Ron setting up on camera to Michelle off camera and, you know, and telling me to get a tattoo. But the dynamic that I've felt between you guys is that balance in the spirit and the logistics. And I think that so often in, you know, in ministry and in work and life, you can get kind of disconnected from, you can either do one thing really well or the other thing really well. And I think that the ones that are connected to the spirit really well and don't really allow themselves to kind of submit to the logistics, that, you know, sometimes I feel like there might be a little bit of wheel spinning because they can't actually get the things done that need to get done. And then the ones that are the organizations that are just getting things done might forget why they're doing it in the first place. And that's what I love about you guys, like from the very first moment. But to kind of give people some real tangible things, because, you know, I think that, Ron, I love the way that you are able to, one thing that I aspire to be, besides the fact that I have a collar shirt on this show for the first time because of you. I want to wear a collar shirt because Ron's wearing collar shirts.
Sorry. Okay. He's got a uniform. I only got like 5 shirts. I'm sorry.
So
I want you to be you, Joel. I want you to be you.
I am being me. And to be honest with you, I'm wearing a collar shirt. This is the first collar shirt that I ever wore. This is Church Day 1, El Salvador, first mission trip ever. This is the shirt I wore. And so, you know, there's a reason to everything I do it, but collars for you because I kind of want to be like you when I grow up. And so, but what I love is that you're able to simplify things into like clear words. And sometimes I might be more like Michelle, where I can just like tell you a whole story and everyone by the end of it will be like, oh my gosh, I love you. But I need to be able to also extract out the clear points. So what I heard you say, and I got to write it down because I have ADD-ish, is stay connected to your people, right? So if you're listening out there, if you are a person that cares for people or leads the people that care for people, these are the things for you. Stay connected to your people, right? Because there's going to be an energy, there's going to be a synergy with the asking for prayer and then also receiving the prayer, right? I heard you say ask for help. Like, so seriously, don't try to go at it alone. We're not meant to do it alone. I think that the interesting thing that has forced us into Zoom boxes now is that it feels like we're more alone, but, you know, these are the moments where we can actually forge some different connections and forge some different ways of checking in with people, having some of the one-on-ones, but don't try to do it again alone. Stay connected, keep people engaged. Make sure that you are speaking specifically to the significance of that person in your organization. Like, you are a significant piece of this puzzle, and you're not a wheel in the cog. You're part of the team. And so I think that's a really powerful one to pull out of it. And then the last one is just maybe even a step past that significance is empower your people. Say, hey, you have an idea? We're going to do it. Because we don't have all the ideas. We're going to do the ideas. I had an opportunity. I get to enjoy this at Soul City here in Chicago. I had an idea the other day that was like, hey, you know what? This is the way that our benevolence program works. And we're going to create a system around it, so that, a different branch of our ministry can do it. And in it, I was like, well, what if we did this? And what if we actually allowed people to kind of, so I might not be the one in need, but what if I saw someone in need and I was able to kind of bring their need to the church for them as a kind of an intercessor? And they were like, yeah, we like that. Let's do it. But that made me feel like I'm involved in the process. And because of that, that added to like me feeling significant, me having pride, feeling like I'm part of this whole thing. Even though I started as a chair stacker. You guys know, I used to run nightclubs, and I was at the top of I was king of nightclubs in Chicago. I'm just calling myself that because that's what I felt like I was. And then I decided to go into ministry, and then I go to the bottom and I start stacking chairs because that's the way, that was the first job open in the ministry that I loved. And so it's like, hey, yeah, whatever. I go from bottle service to stacking chairs. It's fine. It's what God wants me to do. And there's been so much for me to learn in that space. But being able to empower your people, make them feel significant, that is so huge. And I think you guys do that so well. I watched you do it. I mean, really, like, from everybody that I've met in Enlace, Karen, Franco, Arturo, everyone feels like yeah, I know I'm important to this process, and that's been powerful to watch play out. And then the last thing I think that you guys said, and maybe didn't say it explicitly, but innovate, like rethink it. Don't ever be scared to rethink it and reformat it, with you guys assigning people to different regions and saying, here's this team, here's this team, here's this, not to ever get too stuck in the way, your way. And I think you guys have been able to do that really well. Part of that innovation, boom, perfect segue. We're innovating with a few different things now within Enlace, because we can't take people out. And by the way, I don't know if you hear me saying we more and more and more often. I think I gave myself a few titles so far in the show. One, executive pastor of volunteers, maybe. I think that might be the one that sticks. Executive pastor of volunteers. That's me.
Yet to be filled, Joel. So, all right.
I mean, it's not even a role, but I just made it up, and I want business cards. But in the innovation spirit, you guys want to tell me a couple of the things that we've done to innovate in and through this season and into the next season?
Well, I mean, the biggest is, we've changed our whole focus around what's happening at the community level. We're still the same organization. Our goal is still to equip churches to transform their communities. So at the heart of what we do is still about resourcing and training and coaching churches to work with their communities to resolve their community needs. Mm-hmm. In this particular case now, it's clear. The water project, the bridge that they were building, the agricultural projects that they were currently working on, right now everything is on hold because we have the enormous struggle right now. We're 5-6 weeks into this crisis, and there is hundreds and thousands of families in El Salvador right now, Guatemala and Nepal, who literally cannot put food on their table. The churches and communities have been reaching out the last 3-4 weeks to identify these families, trying to figure out how they can mobilize either federal funds or government funds to help these families. That we've already got more than 5,000 families on list. That's 25,000 people right now.
Wow.
We know they only have food for the next 3 to 5 days. I mean, it's that dire. Yeah. And that's just going to keep getting worse now as time goes on. So because of that, we've really focused all of our energy now on helping church community identify these families, try to bring in the resources, and then we are filling in gaps. So everything we're doing from now, hopefully to the next 9-12 months, whatever comes in, whether it's through the coffee program or whether it's donation, I think Michelle can talk about specific ways of doing that. But everything coming in right now is going to be used for providing relief for these families, helping these churches and communities provide food, hygiene, and then help them get their farms up and running and their businesses up and running. So really over the next, we're saying 9 to 12 months. It's probably going to be more like 12 to 18 months. Yeah. All of our effort on the ground is really built around helping these churches care for these most precarious families. You guys have probably heard the news. more and more evidence now that there is there's a hunger problem that's growing now worldwide. And I've even heard newscasters say of biblical proportion. I mean, using that word to describe the enormity of it. And obviously, we're right in the middle. We've been forecasting this. We've seen it happening. We're seeing it happening in our communities. Yeah. So we're just doing everything we can right now to resource the churches to help the communities in very practical ways. So everything coming in, like I said, is going towards that relief and recovery effort.
Yeah. And it's Giving Tuesday now. This is a new thing. This is something that today is Giving Tuesday now. It's, today. And that's why I was like, yo, we got to have Michelle. Anyways, you're up in a minute, Michelle. But it's Giving Tuesday now. This is something that's normally an initiative that sparks off in November. But the world has said it is time for us to get involved now because of those the global scale of it, because of this pandemic. There are things to do now. And Michelle, if you could tell everyone on here that is so happy that you're here, how they can get involved today.
First of all, Joel, I think if anybody is half as happy as you, we're good. So
I think that we're gonna be that happy. Everyone's gonna be that happy, and they're gonna be like, "Oh wow, Joel, you were right." Anyways.
Yeah, Giving Tuesday is usually after we have Thanksgiving. What is it called? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday. And this year it was going to be in December. Last year was in November, but how the dates fall. But so they've moved that up in response to this. Everybody's having to recognize that this is something that needs it's a global problem. It's a global response, and so. So so that's why this is moved up to Giving Tuesday now. The thing, and also I just looked at a report that even puts El Salvador in the top bottom 10 countries that are going to be able to recover from this in any feasible time frame. And so there are, along with I can't remember all the final ones, but it's down there, because imagine if you were already struggling before this thing hit.
Yeah.
Now it's very
exponential.
Exactly. So I just wanted to leave people with 3 words today, building off of the idea of what we can offer. What can you offer? The people who are looking today, what can you offer? And I have 3 ideas. You can always give. Our organization would love to take your donation. It will be used within days of you giving, because that is how it is. It's going in and it's going out in cartons of eggs, soap, hygiene products like
rice,
beans, the basics. So you give, it's getting on the table within the next few days. The other word is sip. If you'd like to be to have a perk with this giving, and you're a coffee drinker like we all are.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you want to sip is the second word. And if you do, you join, the coffee club, which is enlacecoffee.com, and you can get, an awesome bag of coffee, an AeroPress while supplies last. But that is something that would help us ongoing. And then we can plan ahead. If people are monthly givers, you'll get coffee every month, impact stories, and then it's direct.
And let me just add to that for a second. We set this up without even really knowing how the pricing was going to work, but it's a $40 donation for a bag. That's almost exactly what it costs to feed one family per month.
Wow.
So we're hoping to put that money, right, like Michelle said, right into our recovery program. So it's actually been like perfect the way that's worked out as far as numbers, and that will go to that.
Only God. Yeah.
Give, sip, and the last one is if you would like to run.
Yeah.
And if you're a runner or a walker, or you need to get into a running program like I do, I just came in from my running this morning and joined the show right after my run, because we have that initiative of people running together with runforcentralamerica.com, and you can find out there's races. We're having virtual races this year. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have live races all together. But that's if you're so inclined to get into shape, or you are in shape, and you want to do something together with a group, that's another option. So give, sip, or run. offer one of those.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's funny because I was going to be in El Salvador right before the president of El Salvador shut down the borders, very wisely, by the way. I threw a little bit of temper tantrum for about 15 minutes, but then I realized that this is probably the best thing. And then it was the only God thing. I've got to be here as this pandemic started to roll out here in the States, and I got to be with my kid, and I was like, okay, guys, you're wiser than I am. You know, these things happen, you know, for a reason. Everything is in your control. And so I was able to kind of be on the ground as this rolled out in my family, which is, you know, a big deal for me to be here with my kid through that. But I was supposed to be in El Salvador, kind of shooting content and helping with some of the promo stuff for the 5K that was going to be here at the end of June. In Chicago, but we are now doing a virtual 5K, the Hot Tamale Run. So I like to always say the link is in the comments right now, and I'm sure it will be. But hottamale-run.com. Also, you could do a virtual run. That one's already scheduled. You can run between June 1st and June 30th. For $40 also, you get a shirt and that I can't wait to get, and then a medal, a Hot Tamale 5K medal. Come on, it's the cutest thing in the world. You want it? It's worth the $40 just for the medal. But you can do it anytime between June 1st and June 30th. You know, you can run, walk, set up a group of friends to run 6 feet apart. I'll be like 47 feet behind, so I'll be totally safe. Especially with the torn meniscus, I'm actually gonna do it. This is a true story. I'm gonna do it on like a scooter. You know, those scooters that you see people on when they have hurt limbs. I'm gonna do it like that because it'll be funny. But there's all kind of different ways to get involved, and we just wanted to make sure that, kind of in closing, two things I want to do is I want you guys to arm wrestle over who's going to pray us out. Okay, looks like you won, Ron. But before you pray us out, I want to say, you know, one thing that we've talked about before was I've had an opportunity to be involved with you guys, and it is a joyful expression of, I feel like it's a joyful expression of my faith. I feel like it's something that God has put inside of me, something that God has been able to bury inside of me over time, where I might not always have the most resources to offer, but I got a big mouth, and who knew that it was going to be good for a talk show, you know? But God knew, you know? And so there's resources that God has entrusted you with, and I'm looking to everyone watching this right now. There are things that God has entrusted in your care. They came from Him, and this is an opportunity to give it back to Him. And I really do feel like that. I really do feel like there's an opportunity to give joyfully in this time. I can tell you that I work at my church because I trust my church does it well. And I volunteer with Enlace because I trust that Enlace does it well. And I've seen it on the ground. And you may not have been able to be out in these countries and in these communities, but the connection that they help to facilitate, and that's the beauty of it. Enlace doesn't try to solve anything. Enlace tries to connect people to each other via the local church, which is outlined in Scripture, but empower the local church to go out into the community, reach people that may or may not even be involved in that church. And that framework has been so important in this crisis, because where you don't have electricity, where you don't have phones, where you don't have, you may not have cell service, you have the people actually acting as that connection to each other. And that is the work of decades of you guys have done that and created that network in decades. That takes years of time. And so, guys, this helps to facilitate the staff, keeps the staff on payroll. When I found out that Ron wanted to, one of Ron's like top 3 things was to keep the staff on payroll and to not have to furlough, I was like, yo, I'm in, and I'll do it for free so that you don't have to worry about firing me. It's helped out in the past, but it has been like, it has been that those have been things that we could tangibly do. These are things that, I'm not a throw money at a problem type of guy. I promise I'm not. I'm gonna go down there, let's work and work hard. We just can't do that right now. Right now, what you can do is you can get involved in the Coffee with Enlace, the EnlaceCoffee.com program. Right now you can get involved in a run. Right now you can do is get on a Giving Tuesday Now donation. And there's ways to do it all in the links in the comments in the bio right now. And then what I'm going to say is continue to watch, to continue to engage, share these stories, share these shows so that more and more people can get involved in what Enlace is doing in Central America. For our brothers and sisters, someone has to advocate for our brothers and sisters who cannot advocate for themselves. Okay. And you guys do that so well. And it is a blessing to be a part of that. But you guys can do that too. And then as soon as the country opens back up and as soon as you can get on a trip, go. It'll change your life. I promise. So that's it. Someone said, you know what? Someone said in our pre-text, like, Joel monologue. I didn't mean to do that. I don't think of the monologues. They come as they come. I say what I say. I don't mean to do it. There's nothing about it that's planned. Very little about it is planned. But I'm thankful to have the opportunity to be with you guys today. And I would love for Ron to pray us out.
God, we love you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for who you are.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think that you know us all so well,
mm-hmm.
and that you're always available to us. And you're always waiting for us to just come and sit on the picnic blanket with you and not need to say anything, not need to impress you, not need to do something, but rather just enjoy being with you and listen to you and look at your face and experience your strong arms around us and that embrace that heals us and that encourages us and lifts us up. And I just thank you that you are that kind of God.
Yeah.
Who is always available to us. You're always present to us.
Mm-hmm.
In a situation like we're going through, where we have friends in deep despair, where maybe we've lost a family member or we ourselves are sick, we need to be reminded that you are there.
Mm-hmm.
You are always there.
Always.
We just listen, if we just open up our eyes, if we just make the time, your healing arms, your healing touch, your presence can be so real to us and is so real to us that it can bring us healing. We can be seen by you. We can be encouraged. We can be lifted up. And I just pray right now that for everyone out there listening, if they do need you to be present in a new way, God, I just pray that you create the circumstances, or maybe you allow the space or the time for them to look up and see you
mm-hmm.
and to experience you.
Yeah.
And I also pray for all the families in El Salvador and Guatemala and Nepal and even in the States where people have lost their jobs. They're not sure where they're going to get the next money for resources for food. They don't know how they're going to pay for their kids' education and illness. They don't know how they're going to provide for their own medical attention. Lord, I just pray that in these houses, wherever it is, whether it's a thatch house or whether it's an apartment building or whether it's a single home, wherever it is, God, I just pray that you make yourself present.
Mm-hmm.
That people can feel you close and know that you love them and you care for them. So we just thank you that that's the kind of God that you are. That's the kind of God we know. That's the kind of God that we have access through your Son to. We thank you for that. We thank you that you are not a distant God, that you are not a spin the world and see what happens God,
mm-hmm.
that you are God close to us. We pray that you'll keep us close. Pray that we will continue to see you and feel your presence in new ways. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, it's official. First tears on Coffee with Enlace. Thank you.
We're praying for you, Joel, too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The world and people in your world.
I appreciate it. And I just really appreciate being part of it. I appreciate you guys allowing, listening to me, to let me be a part of it, of what you guys get to do. You guys have sincerely blessed me and keep on. So thank you very much for everything you guys do. Going to continue praying for you guys. And I think that Dave, did we cover everything? Yeah. Yeah. All right. And there's no one in my earpiece, but one day maybe there'll be we'll have a producer and we'll do the show like in a studio. Who knows? But thank you guys so much for everything. And Michelle, thank you for coming on. I know that you like to be out in the distance, and I want to share one last thought with you. I had a conversation with our communications director this past week, and I had asked her, how I can pray for her, and she was so busy that it took her a few minutes to get back to me. And one thing that I saw, and I feel like I see the same thing with you, is that there is, I got this vision of a shepherd in a field, and at night. And then it was almost like I could see the shepherd in the field and I can see the family in the house. And I could see this family in this house and they're having fun and they're fighting over the last drumstick. And there's all these things that are going on inside this house. And the shepherd in the field is spending time with God, and he's protecting the flock, which is the livelihood of the family. And I feel like a person that is in ministry and in a communications capacity has to kind of spend time alone with God in the field sometimes to make sure that the house is okay. And that, because it's so important, the messaging and the ways and the things and the emails and the blogs and all those things are so important as like a representation of what's going on inside of the house. And so I just want to continue to bless that. And thank you for, coming out the field and coming into the house with us and doing the interview. And I appreciate it. And I want to continue to bless it and bless you guys and love you guys. And you guys are very important to me. And today was very powerful for me as well. So thank you very much. Love you guys. Guys, all the links are in the comments. Continue to engage and share this. This is such a good one. We started dancing and we prayed and Michelle talked a lot and everything was great.
Give, sit, or run.
There you go. Communications right on point as always. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm sure I'll talk to you in 5 minutes. All right. Bye, guys.